Hey guys, back with a video this time to talk on proper bankroll management. I know that I'd gotten a lot of comments in uh, in the most previous videos on people wanting bankroll management. Got some emails as well from the channel, even some messages on Twitter. This is a pretty decent topic of conversation. I want to make sure that everybody has kind of the right idea of what proper bankroll management is. So I'm going to discuss some tips in here on this video. These aren't just tips, because I don't want to say that exactly. These are really rules to live by. I mean, I definitely live by all these. You have to, because the bankroll management side of it, it needs to be addressed and discussed, especially on this channel. Because as good as you can be at handicapping, we could win 85% of our games, but it doesn't mean anything if we're not following proper bankroll management strategies. So, for starters, proper bankroll management. Set a bankroll for yourself. Okay, I know that there's some fluff in there, because like, oh well, what should your bankroll be? It's kind of like a made up number. People kind of just go on a whim. Oh, I ran out of money in my account. Let me just refund. No, no, no. Pick a number, stick with it. Let's say that number could be 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is. That's your defined bankroll, and whatever that number is, be comfortable knowing that there's a good chance at some point or another you will lose half of that bankroll, at minimum half of that bankroll. I mean, because if you're living on 5 to 10% per bet, which I'll discuss in a bit, you lose 5 bets at 10%, you'll be down to $500 on that bankroll. But make sure it's a number you're comfortable losing some money on. Just keep in mind, sports betting is a grind. You want to have a bankroll set. You want to have money set to use to bet always. You don't want to be betting on a whim, adding money to an account on a whim, and then just throwing money anywhere. You want to have a standardization. Now, set your bankroll and maybe use an Excel spreadsheet. Keep the number that you want to use 1,000, and then document your bets accordingly. And then say how much you bet for each specific bet you made and the number you got. I would even include the opening line and closing line in there just to see how good of a number you got, because over time it'll help you. And I'll discuss some of those other things in the video. But the long short of this is, set yourself with a bankroll. For the topic of this video, I'll use a bankroll of $1,000 just because it's easy to do the math on here for everyone. Also, bet no more than 10% of that said bankroll on a given game, any game. I don't care what the game is. I don't care if it's tennis, if it's Russian soccer, if it's European basketball, if it's an NFL game, if it's Chinese checkers, whatever it is. Don't bet more than 10% of your bankroll on any game. I don't care what anybody tells you about, oh, I got a 5-unit play here, a 10-unit play, a 20-unit play. That stuff that just gets you into a hole. When I say 10% of your bankroll, in the case of $1,000 being your bankroll, never want to bet more than $100 per game. So if you're somebody that likes to flirt between 1 and 2 units per game, some people always bet 1 unit. I'm a 1-unit guy. I like my plays all the same. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I find a more favorable number. I'll go up to potentially a unit and a half. Never 2 units for me. Now, granted, everybody's different. I know that some people like to bet 2 units a game. My argument for the people that like to bet 2 units a game, don't even bet your 1-unit plays. If you like these other plays so much more, and these plays will win so much more, only bet your 2-unit plays. If you have at minimum 1 to 2 2-unit plays a day, and then your 3 1-unit plays a day, just remove your 1-unit plays completely, because there is no way your 1-unit plays are, first of all, your 1-unit plays, if your 2-unit plays are that good, your 1-unit plays aren't winning as good anyway. And if your 1-unit plays are doing better than 52%, then why don't you start figuring out which one of those 1-unit plays are winning and start making those your 2-unit plays moving forward, and then remove the fluff that are your shitty 1-unit plays. You get what I'm saying? So the whole 1-unit, 2-unit thing is not a really big thing for me. I bet all my games 1 unit. Rare case, unit and a half. I would advise you guys to do the same, but again, I do understand the perspective of a guy saying, hey, I do like this game a lot, 1 unit versus 2 units, so I like to bet 2 units. If you are a bettor like that, I would use 5% of your bankroll for the 1-unit plays, 10% of your bankroll for the 2-unit plays. Because again, if you're doing a bunch of 2-unit plays, which is 20% of your bankroll, a cooler of 3 or 4 losses in a row, 5 losses in a row, boom goes the dynamite, your bankroll's gone. So want to make sure, and then you're in tilt, and then crazy things start happening. Okay, limiting the total number of bets. I feel like that's a good segue from what I just discussed. Limiting the total number of bets. I know I say this in a lot of the videos. A lot of the videos I say limit the bets. As it relates to bankroll management, can't be stressed enough. Okay, really don't want to make more than five bets in a given day. I use that number always as a determining factor. I mean, granted, could it be 6? Could it be 4? Sure, but no matter the size of the slate, like even if you're looking at the month of November or December, where you could bet anything from college football, college basketball, hockey, NBA, NFL, soccer, tennis, golf, you name it, in the month of November and December, even a little bit of January, you can bet all those sports. NHL, if you're from Canada, whatever. You can bet all those sports. And, so there's all these different plays you can make, so many different options. Limit yourself to the 3 or 4 bets. And I'm not saying like you open up the odds spreadsheet and you see all these numbers and you're like, oh, like this number, add this to the sheet. Do diligent research in limiting your bets. Find bets that make the most sense. Don't rush it. Do your research the night before games start. Don't do your research 10 minutes before the game. Don't try to look at where the sharp versus square money is, because even before the game starts, you're getting a shitty number. If you're betting games 10, 15 minutes before they start, like if you said to yourself all day, you're at work, you're like, oh, you know what, just going to spend time with the family, the kids, whatever, the wife, husband, whatever you're into, you might come home after a long day and be like, you know what, I want my fix. I want to make a few bets. And then you're betting games at the last minute, whereas you had time the night before to research the games, get good numbers, do your due diligence then. And then it'll help you limit your bets, because you'll know going into the day where your bets are at, what you're going to bet, how much you're going to bet, how much is that, how much is your potential to win, your potential to loss, what's your risk. All that stuff can get weighed, and you can even document it. And then over time, be honest with yourself. Be completely honest with yourself. And I know I'm getting a little off tangent with regards to limiting your bets, but I want to be clear that you want to make sure you're being truthful to yourself. What you document in your spreadsheets, your wins, your losses, you have to be honest. This industry is filled with too much fluff. Everybody loves to say, oh yeah, I know a guy who won this, or I've won this, I've won 9 of my last 10, I've won 11 of my last 12, I've won 13 or 14, whatever it is. People love to request for blowjobs in this industry. They love to talk about how good they are, how big their dick is, how many games they've won, how they avoid losses. Look, at the end of the day, everybody loses. There are people that win, there are people that lose. The best limit their losing streaks. With regards to limiting your bets, this will really do so many different things for you. I know I'm harping on this as well, harping on this a lot for bankroll management. I feel like it has to be overstated. Okay, too many people I know make way too many bets in a given day. They ask their buddy who they get 3, 4 picks from. They work in their own little team of 4 or 5 people that they get 2 or 3 picks from each of them. Next thing you know, they're betting 7, 8, 9, 10 different bets in a game, maybe even adding parlays into that. And it's just a shit show. And there's no way long term that can be sustainable. It just can't, because there's not that many favorable bets in a slate. Long, short, limit your bets. No more than 5 in a given slate. For the most part, it should be between 1 and 3 daily. Now, in relation to limiting your bets and when you don't limit your bets, I feel like I'm going to roll right into not chasing bets. Okay. Now, this might be common knowledge for most. It's not a common practice for most. I can promise you that. One of those kind of things where it's like everybody knows how to eat healthy, but like they don't follow it. I feel like everybody knows how to, not chase when they're having a losing night, but like people still do it. And I think what you have to do is you have to train yourself, in this fashion. Like, understand that going into a day, there is at minimum a 50% chance you will lose your picks for the day, whatever those picks are. You might have 1 pick, you might have 3, you might have 5. There is a minimum 50% chance you will lose those picks, regardless of how favorable your numbers are, regardless of what you're getting, regardless of the amount of favorites you're betting, whatever it is, the favorable dogs, plus EV bets. By the way, plus EV is just expected value. This is a variable, it's a subjective variable, based on your predictability of a number being favorable or unfavorable. Okay, that's what expected value is. It's more or less a buzzword term, but people will say it to mean my bets are plus EV or minus EV in relation to how confident they are in their bets or how negative they feel about their bets. But in relation to not chasing, so you might have a few weeks go by where you're kind of like riding the ship. You're up maybe a few units here and there, right? Then it happens, right? The losses come in, right? Which happens to everybody. You go through a state of 3 to 4 or 5 days where you drop like 10 units. Okay, you were steering the ship. You're up a few units. Now you drop 10 units. Now you start thinking to yourself, okay, how can I get this money back? How can I get this money back? What if I started betting 4 times my normal bet on a game? Or what if I started betting parlays? Now, I'll go into parlays in a little bit because I want to make sure that message is said, understood clearly as well. But we'll say, you go back and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to bet 4 or 5 units on this next game. The thing with that is once you lose, you can chase, and the chasing can work out for you. You can get bailed out 4, 5, 6 straight times, maybe. But when that one time happens that you don't get bailed out, you are literally going to bury your bankroll. Okay, it is absolutely crucial to bankroll management that you do not chase. Now, one-off situations, having a bad day, whatever it is, everybody does it and chases. Okay, long term, unsustainable. You will bury yourself chasing losses. So chasing is like I went 0-3. I went 0-3 today. I know the way to get it back. I bet 4 units on the next game, and just boom, just like that, I'll get all my losses back, and I'll pick up a unit. Problem is, you lose that game, which was a minus EV number anyway, because you most likely bet it on a whim 5 minutes before a game started. After you lost the other games, it's 9 o'clock at night. Your 7 o'clocks all ended. They all lost, and now it's like, oh, 9 o'clock. What can I bet to get the money back? You bet a game, you get an awful number. That loses. Now you're down 7 units. Now for a player like you that's been kind of hovering around plus 3 to 5 units for the last few weeks, now you're down 7 units. It's like a 10 or 12 unit swing, and just dreadful for a bankroll. Chasing is something you have to avoid at all costs. With regards to the chasing angle, I mentioned this briefly before, parlays, teasers, pleasers, buying points, all this added fun juice, right? I'm going to mainly talk about parlays, but before I do, I will mention the fact that avoid teasers, pleasers, and buying points. For those that don't know, because a lot of people know what teasers are, but pleasers are the exact opposite of teasers. You're basically buying points in the reverse direction of the books. Still, extremely amount of heavy juice added on the book side. When you're buying points, you're paying extra juice per half point, even full point, especially if you're hitting key numbers, you're paying even more juice. It's just silly. Don't do it. And never buy points, ever, if you're going to buy points for a push. If you're looking at line 3.5 and you want to get it at -3 instead of -3.5, don't buy a point for a push. If you're going to be crazy enough to buy points, at least buy it with the half point, buy it to give yourself the chance to win a game instead of push. Okay, so now with regards to parlays, over time, these are simply slow deaths. Okay, they are like little tiny little wounds, little cuts that you might not even notice, and like weeks might go by and you can't understand why you've lost all this money. I'll explain. You might go to have a slate 7-8 games you like, because this is how you used to bet before you watch this video, of course. You used to bet 7-8 games a night, right? So you bet 7-8 games, and you bet a unit on each, and then you bet like a few parlays mixed up in between the 8 games. Like maybe of the 8 games, these 3 were your favorites, so you bet a 3-team parlay there. These 2 were your next favorites, so you bet a 2-team parlay there. Then for shits and giggles, you bet a round robin with 3s and a 4 with 4 teams, or maybe a 5-team parlay for $1 or a 1%, whatever it is. Stop doing it. Okay, it does not pay. You will slowly burn your bankroll in this manner. And the other thing that people do with parlays is they chase with them. So typically, again, go back to my example from before. You're steering the ship. Everything's going good. Tide's well. No storm has hit your path. And then, boom, storm hits. 4 or 5 losses in a row, 6 losses in a row. How can I get it back quickly? I know how. Quick 3-team parlay. If I hit a quick 3-teamer, boom, I can get 6 units back. If I go 1 unit, 3-team parlay, I'll get 6 units back. Here's the problem with that, guys. 2-team parlays should pay 4-1. They pay 3-1 on even odds. 3-team parlays should pay 8-1. They pay 6. 4-team parlays should pay 16. They pay 10. 5-team should pay 32. They pay 20. You can just keep going down the line. There is just more added juice. There's a reason they offer you parlays. There's no video in the world that's going to teach you how to win betting parlays. There's nobody in the world that can tell you. If anybody's sitting there telling you, hey, look, I know the recipe to win parlays long term. No, they don't, because mathematically, they don't make sense. They don't make sense. So again, avoid parlays, and specifically avoid parlays when chasing, because it's just extra added loose change coming out of your pockets. It's all it is. It's all it is. You have a good rapport that you're building between your spreadsheets, mathematically, telling yourself, picking your bets, getting good numbers. Why would you let weeks of success be ruined because you're going to chase down a few extra losses, 5, 6 losses you had in a week? Let's say you're up 30 units over the course of 2 months. Great 2 months. But let's say you're up 30 units over the course of 2 months. You have 1 week where you have a 5 to 6 unit loss, 6 to 7 unit loss. People just can't even stomach this idea. Like, oh my God, I need to get all this money back because I know I had this much money in my account and now I have 7 or 8 units less. I need to get it back. And then chase mode starts, the parlays start, you start doing teasers. It just becomes a complete shit show, disaster. And you want to just avoid those situations at all costs. Understand that you're getting into this being a handicapper, you want to bet some sports with friends, whether you want to be more knowledgeable in sports, you're doing your own research, whether you want more stuff to talk about at the water cooler with the guys, with the gals, whoever you want at the bar. Regardless, understand that this is a game that is won by getting favorable numbers long term and staying in your financial lane and keeping the psychology aspect as limited as possible. We are all human. We are all going to be subject to feeling bad when we lose, feeling great when we win. When you feel bad when you lose, you have to understand, close up shop. Night over, game over. Tomorrow's a new day. Refresh yourself, recalibrate, sync up, understand how you got there, how you had the success, and then utilize that again. I think sometimes when people go on long winning streaks, I think sometimes they forget how they got there. They start to the mindset floats around in their head. Oh, I'm so good at this now. All of a sudden, that there's no justification behind it outside of hit a little bit of a hot streak. I'm so good at this now, so now I don't need to research like I used to. I just these picks are just kind of coming to me. I'm just good at this. Not the case. You need to understand the research, the due diligence, the getting good numbers, getting favorable spots, trying to figure out why a team would play a certain way in a certain situation, trying to predict line movements to get yourself better numbers. All this stuff is what got you the success you had. So you need to keep doing it. And I think when you win a lot, you forget that. When you lose a lot, you forget that. Stay in that lane. And then long term, your bankroll will benefit from it. Keep in mind, guys, I like to use baseball as the analogy just because in baseball, the best hitters in the game, especially nowadays, maybe a little earlier was a little higher, but nowadays, best hitters in the game, they get out 7 times out of 10. When a batter gets out, okay, he's not his next at bat, he's not looking to double down. Hey, if I get 2 hits in a row, can that make up for my last 2 or 3 times I got out? They're not looking at. Now, granted, it's not an option, so I get that part of the argument. But as the analogy goes, a baseball player struggling at the plate, over the course of a day, over the course of 2-3 days, a week, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, what does this baseball player do? This baseball player goes to the people he's trusted or people he trusts around him, whether it's his hitting coach, whether it's coaches he's used in the past. Hey, what am I doing wrong? Can you look at my mechanics? Can you take a look at my swing? What about my follow through? What about my back foot? Is it planted? Is my front foot moving forward in the right direction? What about my wrists? Are my wrists snapping when they're supposed to? Is my back elbow where it's supposed to be? Am I finishing my follow through like I typically do? Can you watch video on me? Keep in mind, guys, in this industry, people that are betting as well. Whether it's them from Twitter, whether it's them from your own little cult you've created, your own little group of friends, whatever they are, family. Ask these people for help. Hey, you were part of me. I was working with you when I was winning a lot of games. What was I doing back then that I'm not doing now that I'm not hitting? Humble yourself. Ask people for help. This industry is always changing. Life evolves. Evolve with it. Make the proper adjustments as sports go on, as sports change and evolve, and there's more points scored, less points scored, other teams come up, other teams go down, adjustments get made, the markets adjust, spreads are moving in different directions every day. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. Your mechanics are the most important part. What gets you the good numbers, especially when you're winning? When you're winning, you should be doing more documentation than when you're losing, because when you are losing, you want to reference those winning documentation things you were doing. Now, you could also do some backlogging when you're winning to see if long-term that was going to be sustainable. But I'm not a true fan of long-term backlogging, only because backlogging is when you log back your sports bets over the course of years. If you have a system, a model, whatever it is that you want to use to backlog long events for years back, it's good. And you might say, okay, hey, look, I backlogged my model. It's won for the last 5 or 6 straight years. But sports are always evolving. Even if you won over the last 6 years, maybe you won 1 unit one year, maybe you won 50 the next, maybe you won 2 units the next, maybe one. But if you backlog it maybe 10 years before that, maybe you lost 150 units. You don't know. Sports always evolve. The whole idea of backlogging to me never made a whole lot of sense. I know, again, I'm going off tangent here, but it all ties into bankroll management, because your success in bankroll management is going to be also tied in the fact that you're able to limit your losses and emphasize your wins. The way you emphasize your wins is documenting the process while you're winning, okay? And while you're losing, you are recalibrating, resyncing by doing what? By going back to looking at what you were doing when you were winning. What were you doing specifically while you were able to pick up a unit or 2 a week, 3-4 units a week, 6-8 units a month? Keep in mind, guys, this is a long-term thing. If you're picking up 8 to 10 units a month, if you are, all the power to you. Because if you are picking up 8 to 10 units a month, and if you're betting, even if you're betting $1,000 a game, which is a little on the high side, depending on what type of bettor you are, but if you're betting 8 to 10,000 1,000 a game, picking up 8 to 10 units a game, 8 to 10 units a month. That's on the high side, 120K a year if you're betting 1,000 a game. Now, I get it. That's not everybody. If you're betting only 100, that's only 12,000. But that 12,000 is a lot of money to certain people. That's a bonus. That's a bonus to some. That's a raise to others. What I'm getting at is understand when you're losing, what you're doing wrong. Take a step back. So too many people when they're losing take 2 steps forward. When you're losing, take a step back. Go through your process. What were you doing when you were successful? And keep at that. Absolutely no one is perfect, especially in the sports betting industry. And I can promise you that if you're watching this, you most certainly are not either. The best lose at this a lot. Swallow this pill before you even start exploring the idea of making a sports bet, let alone funding your account, let alone creating yourself a bankroll, let alone documenting your bets, figuring out what process works, backlogging information, all that stuff. Now, I can do a separate video for you guys on breaking down the number exacts. Like I can do a split screen where I put up a spreadsheets that I use to monitor my bets, the numbers I got, and how to manage it. But I want to close this video out. This video's gone a lot longer than I anticipated it going, but I hope you found it informative. I want to close the video out with this. Your bankroll is your money, okay? It is yours. Don't let anybody tell you any different. It is your money. The decisions you make with your bankroll, once it's in a sports betting site, whether it's with a bookie, whether it's, like I said, in a site, however you're betting it, at a casino, it is your money. If I hear this all the time, like when people win a few bets, oh, I'm up 3 or 4 units. I'm playing with house money. Now, now I'm really going to gamble. No. You're not playing with house money. It's your money. You won it. It's yours. Don't tell you there's house money is not a thing. It's a fallacy. It's not real. Not real. You are playing with your money. And when you're losing, you are chasing with your money. So keep that in mind. You wouldn't want to make a lot of foolish decisions in business avenues in life, right? So this is your money and you're using it to, on a whim, bet a game because you lost a few that you shouldn't have, or, a few made baskets didn't go in your direction and now you're pissed off and you're making foolish bets to try to, get your money back. Not the direction you should be taking. Remember, always be betting your money in favorable spots. Do your research the night before. That's when you're going to get the best numbers. Especially when you do it the night before, you can begin to track line movement. Now, you can still find line movement yourself, but how is that relevant to bankroll management? Because over time, the better numbers you get, the bigger your bankroll will become, okay? You want to get good numbers. You will get the best numbers at open, not at close, okay? And if you're going to get them at close, you might want to start thinking about betting the opposite sides of games, because at close, you're getting a worse number on one side, but a better number on the other. But people still bet shitty numbers at the last minute anyway. To me, it's crazy. Create your own lines. Get good at becoming an odds maker. I'm not saying you have to be a perfect one, but create your own odds. Because if you create your own odds and you say to yourself, okay, I want to bet these games, but if these games seem 3 to 4 points off my radar, then something's fishy. I need to know what's going on. Why is this number the way it is? And again, long term, this will help your bankroll because you'll be making less foolish decisions as it relates to making sports bets. And like I said, monitor the patterns of the betting public. Look at the market. Why is the market so high on this team? Why is the market so low on this team? If a market is high on one team, should I be fading them going forward because I know I'm going to get better number with teams playing them since the market's going to be betting them? If a team is losing a lot of games, should I be betting more money on them? If a team is really bad against the spread in their last 10, should I be betting for them because now the market's going to adjust? I'm going to get better numbers with the team that's been bad against the spread because everybody sees that. Over time, you'll be able to do this balancing act with, all these things in mind to keep your bankroll up. Because while bankroll management is sort of a money thing, an analytical thing, it is still, the bankroll management is a good piece, but you still need to be winning your bets. I feel like so many people think, oh, but it's bankroll management. It's all, it's all psychology. It's all, analytics, just keeping yourself in your lane. But if you're winning less than 52% of your games, it doesn't matter what type of bankroll management you're doing, you're losing money. You still have to win. Still have to create winning picks. I feel like people forget that all the time. And again, betting into the last minute, just stop doing it. Okay, so I hope this video was informative for you. Probably would have needed a pen and notepad or something to write down some of this stuff. I know I don't do the share screen things. If the share screen would be a little easier for everybody to understand, I could do it if you'd like me to. I'm better at going off the top of my head with what I know, but I can definitely put something together for you so you see something in front of you visually that you could write down or take better notes of. But look, I hope this was informative for you. I know that I went off on a tangent, a bunch of different things, but to be honest, I could talk for hours on this stuff specifically because there's so many different directions you can go in as it relates to bankroll management and what's the efficient way to do it and how to avoid, negative, how to avoid the red in the spreadsheets. There's so many different things to discuss, but I hope I cleared up some things for you, some confusion you may have had. If you still have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them below. Love when you guys comment. I know it's been a while since I did a video, so I apologize for that. I will be getting more into these. I actually have surgery for my foot tomorrow, so I'll be home for the next few days. I'll be able to put together some content for you. I'll give you some more picks, but I want to do these other videos for you, these helpful videos, because again, I want you not to just be able to get the wins that I give you. I want you all to become better sports bettors. I want you all to become more cognizant of the industry, be able to smell the bullshit, instead of tasting it before it's too late. I want to help you all become better at this, whether it's more knowledgeable in sports, whether it's just better handicapper. I want you to be better all around. And I do believe I'll get you there. We'll get you there with the channel. So I want to thank you for taking time to watch the video. Again, like it if you enjoyed it, if you found it informative. Drop a comment below. Any questions you have on bankroll management, I'll be happy to answer. And again, I'll see you guys soon with another video.